Welcome to the monthly PolitIQ Challenge, the only game show where you can prove that you know politics. Today's 3 contestants will be competing for $50 by correctly answering the most number of questions related to politics from the month of April. Let's meet the contestants. All right, so joining us from Salt Lake City, we have Ender. Joining us from Santa Monica, California, we have Treat. And finally, joining us from New York City, we have Jonathan. Welcome to all 3 of you, and good luck. Now, before we begin, let's go ahead and take a look at the categories of the first game board. Starting with containing COVID, Earth Day, US and the World, and then major headlines. All right, so Ender is coming into this with the highest score on politiqtrivia.com, so I'm going to actually let him choose the first category.
So let's do major headlines for 500.
A long-awaited Senate review unanimously found that the intelligence community assessment of blank was fundamentally sound and nonpartisan. Ender.
Russia.
Can you be a little more specific?
The Russian probe, Russian interference with the Trump election.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so you get 500 points, and you get to go ahead and choose the next category.
Let's go U.S. and the world for 500.
Which country became the first to hold a national election since the start of the coronavirus pandemic? Again, Ender.
What is South Korea?
Yeah, that's right. There were... South Korea's president, after the election happened, stated that he hopes the United States can potentially use it as a roadmap for how to conduct a nationwide election amidst a pandemic.
Let's see. Let's go Earth Day for 500.
The largest oil-producing area in the U.S. is spewing more than twice the amount of blank emissions into the atmosphere than previously thought, according to new reports. Treat.
Methane.
Yeah, that's correct. All right. Treat,
So it's me.
Go ahead and choose.
Containing COVID 500.
The earliest confirmed death in the U.S. from coronavirus was recently updated to the 6th of what month, or 3 weeks before officials acknowledged the virus was transmitting locally. Treat.
It was February.
Yep, that's correct. And scientists in California, which is where the case occurred, are currently studying earlier autopsy reports to find out if there were indeed earlier cases. All right, Treat, go ahead and choose the next category.
COVID 400.
A blank in Ohio currently represents the largest single cluster of coronavirus cases in the country, with over 80% of its population infected. And Treat.
Prison.
Yep, that's correct. Okay, Treat again.
COVID 300.
President Trump recently invoked the Defense Production Act to require blank to stay open during the pandemic. Treat.
Meat packing companies.
Yeah, that's correct.
COVID 200.
Throughout April, governors urged the federal government to help acquire and produce blank, which health officials argue is the most significant hurdle to lifting social distancing restrictions. Ender.
Ventilators?
No, incorrect. Treat.
Masks.
Also incorrect. Jonathan, do you want to take a stab at it?
Testing equipment?
Yeah. So while governors have also been trying to get help with production of ventilators and masks, the most significant hurdle to lifting restrictions, which they've repeatedly said, is the testing that needs to be done. Jonathan, go ahead and choose the next category.
Jonathan's on the board, yay!
Woo!
Major headlines for 400.
All right. President Trump announced the U.S. is temporarily suspending blank in order to protect American workers amid the coronavirus outbreak. And Ender.
Immigration.
Yes, that's correct.
Let's go with U.S. and the world for 400.
The UN warned that nearly 300 million people worldwide could potentially die from blank by the end of the year. Ender.
Ah,
Starvation.
Yes, that's correct.
getting gypped. I'm getting gypped.
The game's rigged against you, Treat.
Ah, I'm competitive. I'm actually a two-time game show winner. I just want you guys to know.
Oh,
Okay.
wow, all right.
Oh,
All right. We got a ringer.
Let's go Earth Day for 400.
According to a new study, the western United States is currently experiencing its worst blank in 1,200 years. Ender.
Drought.
Yes, that's correct.
Let's go major headlines for 300.
President Trump temporarily halted all U.S. funding to what international organization over concerns about its handling of the coronavirus outbreak? And Ender again.
WHO.
That is correct. The World Health Organization.
man, he's fast on that clicker. I thought I was fast.
Let's go U.S. and the world for 300.
The UN recently warned that there has been a global surge in blank amidst efforts to quarantine and stop the spread of coronavirus. Ender.
Racism.
Yes, I'll give you that, but anyone else, because there is another answer. Treat.
It's not racist attacks, but crimes. Crimes against Asians.
Also not what I was looking for, but that is correct. So Jonathan, I'm going to give you also an opportunity to get points on this.
Can I take a second? Can I take a second guess? A global surge in slashed prices on cruises?
That's true. I guess there are a lot of potentially correct answers for this one. What I was Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say crime, but
well, actually, in the United States, there's been a reduction in crime. Although I don't know if that still is held up. The correct answer is domestic violence. And child abuse.
That makes sense.
I'm gonna give this to Jonathan to choose the next category.
U.S. and the world for 200.
Tensions with this country recently escalated when President Trump threatened to shoot down and destroy any of its ships that harassed U.S. Navy boats. Ender.
Iran.
Yes, that's correct. And that comment came the same day that Iran actually launched their first military satellite successfully. All right.
Let's go with Earth Day for 300.
April 22nd marked the blank anniversary of Earth Day, which was created to provide unity to the environmental movement and increase ecological awareness. Jonathan.
50th anniversary.
Yes, that's correct. I was an environmental studies major and international studies major in college, so I had to throw that question in there, or at least have an entire category dedicated to the environment. Jonathan, go ahead.
U.S. and the world for 100.
Despite coordinated efforts to cut back global production, the price of blank dropped to historic lows in April due to decreased demand worldwide. Ender.
Oil.
Yep, that's correct. And prices actually went negative for the first time in history at one point.
Let's go major headlines for 200.
In the U.S., the coronavirus is infecting and killing this demographic of Americans at disproportionately high rates. Ender.
African Americans.
That's correct.
All right. Earth Day for 200.
The EPA weakened regulations on the release of blank into the environment, which has been linked to brain damage, learning disabilities, and developmental effects in children. Treat.
Toxins.
What kind of toxins?
I knew you were. This is going to be a trick question. Oh shit. I know this because I read the article. But you know what? I'm just going to let Ender go ahead and answer it.
Ender, take it away.
Mercury.
Yeah, that's correct. So heavy metals, and specifically mercury.
Oh, Mercury. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go major headlines for 100.
According to U.S. intelligence officials, the leader of this country was in grave danger after undergoing a recent surgery treat.
North Korea.
Yep, and I think it was yesterday that North Korea State TV released video proving that he's in fact fine.
Sure, that video was taken when?
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Okay, containing COVID 100.
The governor of this state, which is home to the CDC, recently received criticism for being the first to ease lockdown restrictions despite rising infections. Treat.
Georgia.
That's where I went to school, so I gotta love that question.
And let's clean up the board now with Earth Day for 100.
That's it. The EPA rolled back blank standards, which prompted Obama to issue a rare criticism via Twitter calling on Americans to demand better of their elected officials. Treat.
Oh my God. Brain fart. Ender, tell me.
No. It's Jonathan. It's Jonathan.
Yay!
Is it mileage standards?
Yeah. Fuel efficiency standards. With that, we've come to the end of round one. The points are as follows. So in first place, we have Ender with 3,500 points. In second place with 2,200 points is Treat. And in third place with 600 is Jonathan. So now I just want to take a quick second and get to know the contestants a little bit better. So let's just go ahead and start with Ender. Ender, what's something that you've been doing while in quarantine to keep yourself busy? And what's the first thing that you look forward to doing once all sort of social distancing restrictions are lifted?
Mostly trivia.
Nice.
And then after it's all over, once it starts easing up, plan on going to the beach.
Nice.
In Utah?
Yeah, I was going to say.
California.
Treat, what do you do?
I'm actually an actor and voiceover artist. I'm a freelance writer and a painter.
Nice. Okay.
So I can paint and I can write from home, which is great. But the thing that I keep myself occupied with is I'm also a professional chef, and so I live in a very small complex, and I basically cook for 4 different units in my complex, and that means that I get to dictate who goes shopping, what has to be bought, and I make really delicious meals, and everybody's really spoiled.
Oh my God, I want to be your neighbor.
Yeah, and the thing that I look forward to doing, I really miss sushi, and I just really want a great massage.
Awesome. Jonathan, how about you? How's it been being in like the epicenter of the coronavirus pandemic?
It doesn't feel as bad as everyone thinks it is. I tried to stay pretty safe, and I don't leave home very often, and
Yeah.
I do all the social distancing stuff. And
What are you doing to kind of keep yourself busy, and what are you looking forward to doing?
well, I've been working from home. I guess when this is over, I'd like to go back to the gym and start exercising again.
Awesome. So before we begin the second round, I just want to remind contestants that this time, if you answer incorrectly, points will be deducted. So be sure only to buzz in if you know the answer to the question. The categories of this game board, starting with curing COVID, true or false, in which every question is obviously a true or false question, legal action, and again, major headlines. And you'll notice that the point values are a little bit larger, so just keep all that in mind. All right, Ender, you are in first place, so I will go ahead and open the game board up to you to choose the first category.
All right, let's go true or false for 1,000.
True or false? U.S. citizens who are married to an immigrant without a social security number are not eligible to receive coronavirus stimulus checks and treat.
That is true.
That is true.
True or false, 800.
According to the World Health Organization, people who have recovered from coronavirus are immune to reinfection. Treat again.
False.
That is false. There's no evidence to date that they are immune.
True or false, 600.
March was the busiest month ever for firearm sales in the U.S., according to data released in April. Ender.
True.
It's actually false. March was the busiest in terms of background checks conducted, but the month following the Sandy Hook shooting was actually the busiest for firearm sales. March was the second busiest.
So does it go back to me?
It does.
Curing COVID, 1,000.
Public health officials estimate that developing a coronavirus vaccine will take approximately blank months at the earliest. Treat.
6.
Incorrect. Jonathan?
18 months?
Yeah, so it's 12 to 18 months. Yeah, Jonathan, go for it.
Major headlines for 1,000.
U.S. intelligence officials warned the Trump administration about the coronavirus outbreak as early as what month, which the White House dismissed at the time? Treat.
January.
Incorrect. Jonathan?
December?
Ooh, also incorrect. Ender?
Wow.
November.
Yes, that is correct.
Arr!
Yes.
Pitchforks. That was my first reaction, and then I was like, well, we've read so much about January.
Well, so there was a memo that leaked sometime within the last month about how one of the top officials in the Trump administration warned Trump in writing in January. But also it became public knowledge that the U.S. intelligence community was warning it about the outbreak as early as November. And actually, they also warned Israel and NATO at the time.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah.
All right, Ender, as you were.
Let us go legal action for 1,000.
The Supreme Court of this South American country recently authorized an investigation of alleged corruption and obstruction of justice into its president, who is a close Trump ally, and treat.
Brazil.
Yes, that is correct. Jair Bolsonaro, which is especially significant because their previous president was essentially removed from office following a similar corruption investigation. All right, treat, go ahead.
Curing COVID, 800.
The director of the federal agency tasked with developing a coronavirus vaccine was fired after questioning the president's promotion of what unproven treatment? Treat.
Hydroxychloroquine.
Yep.
Quinn.
Yeah, that's correct. A study was actually released in April about how patients who were treated with that actually had a higher fatality rate than the test group.
Curing COVID, 6.
The FDA authorized the use of what drug last week after experimental trials showed a positive effect on recovery time for coronavirus patients and treat?
Remdesivir.
Yep.
Curing COVID, 4.
The FDA eased restrictions for blank who want to donate blood used to help scientists in hospital fighting coronavirus. Hint, this demographic had been banned from donating blood since 1983. Ender.
Homosexuals?
Yeah, that's correct. The ban was put in place amidst the AIDS pandemic.
Let's go major headlines for 800.
The number of confirmed cases of coronavirus in the U.S. recently surpassed what milestone? Ender.
1 million?
Yep, that's correct. not so fun fact, there are a little over 3 million confirmed cases worldwide, and the US has 1/3 of that, even though we make up 5% of the world population.
Let's go legal action for 800.
Attorney General Bill Barr threatened legal action against states that impose overly strict quarantine restrictions or target blank organizations for violating social distancing orders. Treat.
Religious.
Yeah, that's correct. It's not entirely surprising if you know anything about
Bill
Bill
Barr.
Barr. Yeah, he is a devout Catholic who thinks that the scourge of the world is young people turning away from religion. All right, Treat, go ahead and choose the next category.
Legal action 600.
Which state became the first to bar transgender females from women's sports and prohibit changing birth certificates to match one's gender identity? Ender.
Idaho.
Yeah, that's correct.
No, Idaho.
Let's go major headlines for 600.
President Trump is reportedly pushing U.S. spy agencies to investigate what unsubstantiated claim, which the vast majority of public health officials dispute. Ender.
That the virus was engineered.
Yeah, that's correct. And actually, a few days ago, I think Friday, the U.S. intelligence officially specifically came out and said that that is not true. But they're still currently looking as to whether or not the virus was accidentally released from a lab in Wuhan.
Let's go major headlines for 400.
For the first time in history, the U.S. named a group associated with this ideology as a terrorist organization. Hint, the group is based in Russia. Ender.
White supremacists.
Yep, that's correct.
All right, let's go major headlines for 200.
Which high-profile Democrat is facing increased criticism over allegations of sexual assault from 1993? Ender.
Joe Biden.
That is correct. And he, I think, over the weekend vehemently denied the claims, but encouraged further investigation into them.
Let's go legal action for 400.
The Supreme Court recently declined to issue a ruling on its first case related to what controversial issue in 10 years? Treat.
Abortion.
Ooh, incorrect. Jonathan.
Is it voting?
Also incorrect. Ender?
Gun rights.
Yeah, that's right. The case specifically was about a New York City law that prohibited people traveling outside of the city with a unloaded and locked firearm, but the law itself changed, and so they sent it back to a lower court.
Let's go legal action for 200.
A federal judge ruled that Alabama cannot outright ban blank as part of the state's response to coronavirus. Ender.
Abortion.
Yeah, that's correct.
Let's go true or false for 400.
The vast majority of Americans support state lockdowns and worry more about worsening the pandemic than damaging the economy. Treat.
True.
That is true. In a recent survey, something like 17% of Americans think that the state restrictions are too strict.
All right, curing COVID 200.
President Trump received widespread backlash after suggesting that doctors try injecting coronavirus patients with what? Ender.
Disinfectant.
Yep, that's correct.
Who was that?
Yep.
And true or false?
True or false? Areas with higher levels of pollution in the U.S. are seeing significantly higher death rates from coronavirus. Ender.
True.
Yep, that is true. All right, so So in first place with 7,900 points is Ender. Second place with 6,200 is Treat. And third place with 200 is Jonathan. All right, so that brings us to the final round. So again, this is broken up into two parts. The first being there are two bonus questions, each worth 1,000 points. There's no penalty for incorrect guesses. Submit your answers to me through chat. For all the questions, the answer is a percent, and so I will accept anything within a 5% range. So you've got a window of 10%, if that makes sense. All right, Democrats have long sought to expand vote by mail, while Republicans have traditionally argued that it could threaten the integrity of elections and encourage fraud. In April, President Trump stated that, quote, Republicans should fight very hard against such measures because if passed, you'd never have a Republican elected in this country again, end quote. According to recent polling, approximately what percent of Americans support implementing nationwide vote by mail if a coronavirus vaccine is not available before the 2020 election?
No Googling, kids.
No Googling. All right. Moving on to the second bonus question. The Commerce Department recently announced that the national GDP dropped 4.8% in the first quarter of 2020, which is the steepest drop since the Great Recession. Approximately what does the Congressional Budget Office predict the drop in GDP to be over the course of the second quarter of 2020? All right, so with that, I'll read the answers. So the first question, according to recent polling, approximately what percent of Americans support implementing nationwide vote by mail? The correct answer is 75%. And so Ender and Jonathan are awarded 1,000 points, and Treat, you were 2% away from getting that correct. I'm sorry.
Pitchforks.
Pitchforks. Second question. What does the CBO predict the drop in GDP to be over the course of the second quarter? The correct answer is 40%, and no one got that correct. Again, that was just a prediction, and we're only 1/3 of the way through the second quarter, so we'll see.
Yikes!
So, with that, before we move on to the final question, again, where contestants, you guys are able to wager points before I actually read the question, I just want to go over the scores really quick, starting with Ender in first place, who has 8,900 points. Treat, second with 6,200, and Jonathan with 1,200. The category is the CARES Act, so everyone right now just go ahead and send me via chat how much you want to wager.
Ender, I'm going to demask you.
All right, so final question. I have the wagers from everyone. Y'all ready?
Yep.
All right. The last 6 weeks has seen over 30 million Americans apply for unemployment and the closing of non-essential businesses nationwide due to the economic impacts of coronavirus. Under the terms of the CARES Act, which Congress passed to provide the economy with over $2 trillion in stimulus funds, $350 billion of which was set aside for small businesses through the Paycheck Protection Program, how much must a small company, which is defined as under 500 employees, spend on payroll in order for the loan to be forgiven?
Are you hustling me, Ender?
All right, so with that, I've got all the answers. So, again, the question was, what percentage of the loan provided by the Paycheck Protection Program must a small company spend on its payroll in order for it to be forgiven? The correct answer, which actually no one got correct, is 75%.
Ooh, I was so close.
Everyone was pretty close.
Who was the closest? Who was the closest?
Funny enough, Ender and Treat, you guys were tied, I believe. You
go 85?
Yeah, Ender.
I went 65.
Yeah. Sorry. All right, and so with that, the winner of the April PolitIQ Challenge is Ender. Ender wagered 3,600, which brings his final score to 5,300. And Treat in second place with 2,701.
Ah, I should have just left my money where it was.
And Jonathan went all out and ended with one. So
I demand a rematch next week. Not even a consolation prize, is there?
just my eternal gratitude for participating. If you want a chance to win money every week or an opportunity to compete in next month's Game Show Challenge, go to politiquetrivia.com and create a free profile. New quizzes are added daily and expire at the end of the month. I want to thank all of our contestants again for participating, and be sure to keep paying attention to the news if you want to prove that you have the highest Polit IQ. Thanks.